It seemed almost like a normal day for the cashier until he ran into the spaceman. And that's exactly what he is, a bizarre stranger wandering into the convenience store dressed like he's doing maintenance work on the side of the ISS. Oh God, the cashier thinks. This has got to be some internet douchebag filming a TikTok stunt. Not today. But he couldn't be more wrong. The stranger in the spacesuit approaches the counter in a resolute stride, with none of the lingering shame that you'd expect some moron in a dumb costume would have. Oh, here it comes. He's just waiting for the punchline.
Salutations, my good man,
the stranger in the suit says.
I know that you're performing important administrative work for the running of this planet here, but I'm afraid I'm in dire need of assistance, especially from one of your impressive station.
Is this guy for real?
If you agree to help me battle the moon monsters.
Sure, the cashier cuts him off mid-speech. Whatever, I'll help you fight the stupid moon monsters if it gets you out of here.
Huzzah! A man of quality,
the spaceman says.
We leave at once.
Before the cashier can get out another word, the spaceman lunges forward, grabbing the cashier in his arms. The thrusters in his jetpack activate in an impressive burst of flame. The unfortunate man is dragged through the ceiling of the convenience store as the spaceman blasts off. The cashier will never be seen again. The same cannot be said of the spaceman who took him. Well, that was all rather strange, wasn't it? Not when you're dealing with SCP-1233, codenamed the Lunatic. Here's an amusing fact for any fellow etymology enthusiasts in the audience. The word lunatic is derived from the Latin term lunaticus, meaning of the moon or moonstruck. It comes from an archaic and incorrect belief that insanity is somehow wired to the moon, except when you're dealing with this particular interstellar oddity. At face value, you'd be forgiven for thinking this is just some oddball cosplayer dressed in an unusually high-quality NASA spacesuit, complete with an opaque visor and a jetpack, wandering through the streets. You might think it's part of some social media stunt or viral marketing campaign. But you'd be dead wrong there. This is one of the most powerful and durable humanoid anomalies on the Foundation's roster, and to this day, it isn't truly contained in the traditional sense. All the Foundation can do is pick up after it. You see, terminating the Lunatic wouldn't be a feasible course of action either. Its suit has been shown to be impervious to both small arms fire and armor-penetrating anti-tank munitions. Its capacity to withstand high temperatures is also astounding. Both white phosphorus bullets and submersion in magma also seem to have no lasting effect on the creature. The suit remains unblemished, and the Lunatic within doesn't appear to show any signs of pain, discomfort, or damage. And if you were hoping that slightly more subtle methods of finding what exactly is going on in the suit would be more fruitful, I'm afraid I'm going to need to disappoint you there, too. Thus far, ultrasonic, radio, microwave, and X-ray emitters have all failed to see through the fabric of the suit. By this point, you've likely also put together that the Lunatic's jetpack isn't just for show either. It's a fully functional, anomalously powerful propulsion system that allows it to fly upwards at a rate of 40,500 kilometers per hour, which is slightly higher than the exit velocity of Earth's atmosphere. Going at this speed, by the way, would be instantly fatal for any human being, supporting the theory that whatever's under that suit is not, in fact, human. If flying and super speed wasn't enough, the Lunatic also has utterly obscene super strength, capable of repeatedly lifting objects weighing up to 65,000 kilograms without showing any signs of fatigue. It completely defies the laws of both biology and physics. Because of the entity's resistance to being captured and analyzed, whether these incredible powers are inherent to it or provided by the suit is still unknown. What we do know are some details of the Lunatic's motives, personality, and inner nature. His voice comes out of a loudspeaker on the suit, described as sounding like a, quote, grandiloquent and declamatory male voice. This fits its larger-than-life personality, both extremely dramatic and oddly cordial in conversation, even if those conversations seem like complete nonsense to the entity's unwitting conversation partner. It seems to also be fluent in a huge number of languages, modifying its speech to fit any locale where it happens to land. Emphasis on land here. The Lunatic simply plummets from an unknown height at extreme speeds, comparable to the velocity of a small meteor, the speed of its descent, causing it to glow white hot. From a distance, it'd be easy enough to confuse it for a shooting star, and not an unknown being on a mission of grave importance. The lunatic will crash into the ground a safe distance from a developed area, typically a small town with a population of around 30,000 people. The sheer force of his landing will cause a localized seismic event, along with a large impact crater, which will later be written off as the result of a comet by everyone except the kind of UFO cranks that even the Foundation doesn't bother dosing with amnestics. After landing, the lunatic will climb out of the crater and begin bumbling his way towards the nearest developed area, having what I can only, in all my scientific professional detachment, describe as wacky misadventures. It's known to spend a great deal of time studying inanimate objects like vehicles, farm equipment, and sometimes even plants. Sometimes it'll just stand still and display no sound or movement whatsoever during these periods, perhaps thinking or taking in the wonders of the world around him, mostly corn if he landed in a field. The lunatic has been shown to have an extremely curious, if misguided, nature. Foundation field agents have spotted him chasing after insects like grasshoppers and butterflies, as well as attempting to converse with and interview various non-verbal animals, such as livestock and birds. It also takes a great deal of interest in fruit and other local foodstuffs, which it will simply smush into its opaque visor as though trying to eat them, when in reality it's just smearing it messily across the glass. It seems satisfied either way. It also has a tendency to march directly into bodies of water before popping up on the other side. This confirms that either the spacesuit has an internal oxygen intake like a non-anomalous spacesuit, or that the creature inside either doesn't need to breathe or perhaps even has gills. With an anomaly like this, there's really no way to tell. However, seeing as it's simply not practical for the Foundation to stop the lunatic from reaching a populated area, given that it's fast, invincible, and impossibly strong, it will eventually reach a populated area while Foundation personnel pour into that area in order to manipulate the situation to their advantage. The lunatic will begin attempting to verbally interface with local people, often causing feelings of confusion, annoyance, and amusement. We can't think of any better example of a typical interaction with SCP-1233 than one that occurred between it and the proprietor of a cookie store named Bob Parsons in Saratoga Springs, New York, USA, back in 2009. I'll try my best here to recreate it exactly as it occurred. The lunatic entered the store, Sam's Sweets, early in the morning, while Bob, a large bearded man, stood behind the counter. Bob was confused by the appearance of the anomaly, who approached him, saluted, and said the following.
Greetings, little girl. I am Moon Champion, champion of the moon, defender of space justice, and destroyer of evil. I have come once again to your charming world to learn more of your strange culture and to seek aid for my people in their ongoing war against the moon monsters. You appear to possess a vast wealth of the fabled nutrients and moisture for which this world is known throughout the galaxy. Are you the president of this planet?
This brought Bob to his knees, with laughter. He assumed this was some piece of avant-garde performance art and remained in a state of uproarious laughter for a full minute while the lunatic politely waited for him to stop. After he was done, Bob offered the lunatic a free cookie as a show of his thanks for such a hilarious prank. The lunatic, trying to be polite, shoved the cookie against his mask, crumbling it all over the floor, an act which provided Bob with further amusement. Since it broke up another drab day running a cookie bakery, he decided to indulge this strange visitor. Bob asked about the moon monster and tried to put together the narrative that the lunatic is looking for new volunteers in an Earthling army to help the moon people fight off the moon monsters. All this seemed to delight the lunatic, who had no concept of irony, saying,
Your understanding of the situation is flawless, my lord. Yes, the dreaded moon monsters have plagued and besieged my people for countless millennia. They are very terrible. Merely attempting to describe them to you would cause your human organs to shrivel in horror. And it is my sacred duty as Moon Champion to meet these nightmarish beasts in combat and lead the moon people in the defense of their imperiled homeland, the majestic and magnificent Moon Kingdom.
Bob was a little shocked at just how committed to the bit this strange customer seemed to be. Was this guy for real? Bob, at least trying to keep things light, asked the lunatic whether he was the king of the moon people. He responded with an emphatic shake of his masked head.
No, I am not one of the moon people. I am Moon Champion. I will continue to serve the Moon people and wage glorious war against their enemies until my debt to the Moon King is repaid. But the Moon Kingdom is a land of peace and enlightenment, the Moon people having abandoned the pettiness of violence and bloodshed eons ago. They are ill-prepared for the sudden advent of such a formidable foe, and the conflict goes poorly despite the valiant efforts of me, Moon Champion. And so I have come once more to Earth, our closest neighbor, to seek whatever assistance lies within your damp, meaty hearts.
This was all getting a little too weird for Bob now. Some part of him was getting a trifle worried that the Moon Champion really wasn't kidding about dragging him off to space to fight a moon war against equally bizarre moon monsters. Thankfully, on his nights off, Bob was a hobbyist stand-up comedian who frequented various improv comedy clubs in New York City to hone his craft. It was this skill that allowed him to skillfully no-but the lunatic and save his life in the process. Thinking fast, he said, So as you can see, Moon Dude, as president, I have responsibilities. This supply depot here is the only source of food for my people, and I've got to, stay here. Otherwise, there will be a famine. You know how it is. But I've ordered the citizens to lend a helping hand to anyone who asks, and look, right outside, there's some. This was the correct answer, and successfully redirected the attention of the lunatic.
Yes, of course. You have been most voluptuous, my liege. Farewell, glorious and corpulent president. May you and your people remain moist and rubbery. Moon Champion blasts off on wings of justice.
The lunatic saluted Bob again and left the store, before walking directly through a concrete wall as though it was made of rice paper, and then flying off. As you may have gathered by now, the behaviors that the lunatic engages in while on Earth do appear, well, loony. Some of the stranger activities that the Foundation have documented the lunatic engaging in include, but are by no means limited to, wandering directly into traffic, which has caused fatalities, as when a car collides with a lunatic at high speeds, the car will inevitably lose that collision, along with any cars behind it. This is how the majority of SCP-1233 fatalities occur, given that the lunatic has never shown any active desire to purposefully harm human beings. It will sometimes take interest in objects behind store windows. In the event of this, they'll reach through the glass directly and pick it up, smashing the glass in the process. A relatively easy fix, all things considered, but it attracts attention for bystanders and generally upsets shopkeepers in the process. It has also, on occasion, picked fights with fire hydrants and then destroyed them with extremely powerful punches. Whether this hints at the appearance of the moon monsters being similar to Earth fire hydrants is an open question, given the seemingly automatic aggression that just seeing them provokes. Researchers on the case will continue to explore this as a possibility. The lunatic has also shown a strange obsession with Earth modes of transport, having sometimes stolen a vast number of bicycles and stacked them into a large pile in nearby parks for unknown reasons. This could easily be written off as the behavior of a group of teen vandals, so the Foundation doesn't find it to be particularly concerning. By contrast, its tendency to pick up and stack cars on top of each other is much more concerning to Foundation containment specialists and Foundation accountants that need to crunch the numbers on paying for all the damage. Dogs are another Terran fascination of the lunatic. He's been known to pick them up and even steal a large number of them, believing them to be a form of currency. But he only ever attempts to use them to buy other dogs, a logic that doesn't seem to track for any comprehensible system of commerce. Because of the highly strange and visible nature of the lunatic's antics, it's not uncommon for the citizens of the town it visits to call the authorities, but any attempts to stop it will be utterly fruitless. Local police have opened fire on the lunatic, who never actually makes any attempts to stop its attackers. It never even really reacts to the bullets ricocheting off its suit. Given its immense strength and dangerous attacks, illustrated by how it behaves towards fire hydrants, everyone involved is just lucky that it's not confrontational towards humans. After a period of trying to collect volunteers for its moon monster mission, which has ranged from 30 minutes to 7 hours in extremis, the lunatic will activate its jetpack and exit the Earth's atmosphere at greater speeds than have ever been recorded for any conventional vehicle. After leaving Earth's orbit, it will travel towards the moon at 40,500 kilometers per hour, at which point it will shift its angle slightly when entering the lunar orbit. It will pass out of view when approaching the far side of the moon, at which point it will either hide or demanifest entirely. The strange thing is, the Foundation does in fact have a functional lunar base, and none of the claims of embattled moon dynasties and rampaging lunar monsters seems to have any corroborating evidence. Despite the tireless efforts of the workers on Lunar Area 32 and the Sentinel satellite array, there hasn't been anything like the lunatic described in his various visits to Earth. There also have been no sightings of the lunatic himself on the moon. It's another one of those anomalies that seems to somehow defy understanding. The more you learn, the less you appear to know, and that goes for everyone who ends up actually accepting the lunatic's offer too. For years, the Foundation had simply gotten lucky that nobody they had ever reported encountering the lunatic had actually taken up its offer to help fight the good fight against the moon monsters. That all changed on October 5, 2017, in the sleepy town of Hereford, England. The lunatic landed on the outskirts of the town before wandering in, where it met a 27-year-old male civilian named Harry Godsall. It immediately began asking Harry whether he wanted to become a hero by joining him on the moon, where they would fight together against the terrible moon monsters. Everyone else had either politely declined or simply ignored the lunatic's requests. But perhaps believing that the lunatic was engaging in the classical British behavior of banter, Harry decided to sarcastically reply, "Oh, absolutely, you nutter. I'm ready to go right now. Got my toothbrush and everything. Let's fly, spaceman." And in the process, he sealed his fate. Before anyone could intervene, the lunatic dramatically proclaimed,
"Ha ha! At last! A brave warrior hiding in plain sight amidst these pastoral and bucolic humans. Let us away, fair meatfellow, and earn the glory of heroes. This day you brush your tooths amongst the stars. We fly!"
And indeed, they did. The lunatic immediately wrapped his arms around Harry's body and flew directly upwards, breaking the sound barrier with such force that the sonic boom broke all the glass in a 300-meter radius. It accelerated to a projected velocity of 25,000 kilometers per hour within approximately 4 seconds as it shot up through the stratosphere with a screaming Harry Godsall in its arms. Harry was never seen after that. It's unclear if he was somehow shielded and transported by SCP-1233's anomalous abilities, or if the sheer speed with which they moved through the stratosphere may have completely incinerated Harry. Either way, after amnestics were applied and the Foundation figured out what had happened, Harry was first reported missing, and then later, dead. Since this incident, it's become official policy for the Foundation to never directly interact with the lunatic in order to reduce the possibility of this unfortunate outcome occurring to a member of the organization's staff. Given the fact that the lunatic is effectively impossible to contain with primary containment methods, it's more than earned the KETER Containment Class. Due to the complexity of the containment situation around this one, its files also have notes on the anomaly's risk and disruption classes. For the former, it's the second highest of all the risk classes, danger, denoting significant to extreme anomalous effects that pose considerable danger to any individual nearby. Its disruption class is ECHI, also the second most severe on record, with a known area of disruption roughly the size of a large metropolitan area to an entire country. But far more concerningly, the potential to disrupt the entire world. All these worrying facts raise the question of how exactly the SCP Foundation can even begin to deal with such a bizarre and disruptive outer space enigma. We're talking about the Secure, Contain, Protect Foundation after all, not the, "Oh God, people are being dragged into the stratosphere by an immortal spaceman and there's nothing we can do" Foundation. This is where the Foundation's Atmospheric Reconnaissance Global Observation System Satellite Network, or ARGOS for short, comes in. 3 years and 6 months after the last recorded departure event of SCP-1233, the ARGOS network enters Priority 2 high alert status, watching like a giant technological hawk from above for the next appearance of the entity. When it's detected, a nearby covert amnesticization and disinformation mobile task force will be dispatched to instigate crowd control measures and ensure that any civilians exposed to the event are given proper amnestic treatment. In the event that someone is taken by the lunatic, the general instructions are to cover up the incident itself and fabricate a disappearance report, which will later lead to the unfortunate new Moon Champion being declared dead a few months later. Suitable cover stories will be created for any property damage, and a media blackout will be instituted over the situation until the Foundation has everything under control. But really, How can we ever truly have everything under control with the lunatic out there? It's his solar system, really. We just live in it. Check out the DrBob Patreon and become a junior researcher today. Now go and watch another entry from the files of DrBob, like SCP-1550, Dr. Wondertainment's Custom Pets, Top 12 SCP Animals compilation.